And the Butterfly Boys are back. My name is Jovan Bradley, and this is the Weekly Dump. Welcome to the Weekly Dump, your number 2 source for number 1 news. My name is Jovan Bradley, and we are back to bring you more of what you crave, that sweet, sweet leftist indoctrination. We're currently live here in Studio B, and it is Monday, November 3rd, not our normal Sunday. We've switched to Mondays. I hope you guys like that. A little evening, a little beginning of your news week, if you will. I'm in the studio, as always, with producer Steve, technical director Chris, and director of photography Jonathan. And we have a great show lined up for you today. So I want you guys to sit back. I want you to relax. And I want you to let that woke mind virus infect you so much so that it gives you a woke mind cold. We are live. We're in Studio B. I hope everybody is having a good time. I am your dedicated leftist hostess with the mostest, and we have so much to get through today. So much. We have a great show. We're going to do the news. We only have like a couple news stories for you, some big things that have happened, and then we're going to get into the discussion portion of the show. As you know, if you've been listening to me through my weekly show, you know that this is essentially where we're going to do what we like to call office hours. So if you do call to debate, debaters do get priority. We have our screener standing by. Shout out to Winnie for screening today. But it is office hours as well. So if you just want to ask me questions about my stances, if you want some more information about something that I might be able to give you, today is the day to call 914-268-6224. That number, again, while it's also on the screen, 914-268-6224. You can call now and get yourself lined up into the queue so that you are top priority. And we'll get to the calls after our news segments for the day. First and foremost, guys, look at how good the stream looks today. Shout out to Chris and Jonathan because they did a fantastic job. I feel like I look so pretty, you know? I feel like they really captured my essence today. Also, shout out to producer Steve for putting together a great show. It is interesting being here on a Monday. I'm slightly more tired than I usually am, especially if you watched me earlier today. You know I did like a full-length stream in the morning, so I'm sitting over here like, damn, I could go for a sleepy time, but instead I'm gonna go for a dumpy time. I just noticed my water bottle has been in frame this whole time. Oh well, I'll put it somewhere else next time, but for right now, that's where my water bottle was. I need it. Shout out to anyone that noticed that. You are clearly more perceptive than I. Now, I'm not monitoring chat today. I'll monitor chat a little bit later. If you do want a shout out, if you want to be like, hey, we support the stream, you can send a super chat over on Red Mirror Media. Any super chat sent on Red Mirror Media's YouTube page, not my personal YouTube page, Red Mirror Media's YouTube page, will get read on stream. So if you want to say something, see something, repeat something, then why don't you go ahead? Send us a super chat. Tell us you support the shows. Join our Patreon. We have our people standing by. They will plop the Patreon into the chat. Red Mirror Media on Patreon. I know producer Steve took the week to upload all back episodes of Critical Mass. So if you were like, damn, I want to watch Critical Mass without the ads, you can go do it there. You can also listen to it on Spotify. You can also watch it on YouTube. There's so many things you could do. We're going to also get the backlog of Weekly Dump episodes there if you want to watch them there without ads. And we're going to be starting memberships on the YouTube soon so you can watch here on YouTube without ads, as well as support all your favorite leftist news. Just remember, we don't have corporate sponsors. We're independent news, baby. We're as independent as it gets. It's just like two of us who do the news here. How much more independent can you get than just like two dudes? Chilling in a hot tub 5 feet apart because they're not gay. Anyway, let's get into our news story today. And let's just get right into the dumps. Because first, we're going to talk about voting and what is happening tomorrow. Because it's looking to be A pretty big day for a whole lot of people. Now, tomorrow, Tuesday, November 4th, voters across America will decide on several historic mayoral races that could reshape progressive politics in this country. We're talking major elections in New York City, major elections in Seattle, and major elections in Minneapolis. It's a big day for progressives. So let's talk a bit about it. Okay. We begin in Minneapolis, where Minnesota State Senator Omar Fatah is mounting a serious challenge to two-term incumbent Mayor Jacob Frey. Fatah made history in 2020 by becoming the first Muslim and first Somali American elected to Minnesota's state Senate. Now, he's coming out swinging with a massively progressive platform.
Let's be honest. Right now, we are living in two different versions of Minneapolis. There's one city for donors, developers, and insiders. The people with access. The people whose priorities always come first. And then there's the rest of us. Renters, transit riders, working class families, navigating a system that was never built for us. They get protection and priority. We get vetoes and broken promises. But it doesn't have to be this way. Minneapolis has the people, the power, the potential. What we don't have is a mayor who can meet this moment. I will be that mayor. Vote Fateh by November 4th. It's time to have a mayor who works as hard as we do.
Now, something you should know. Minneapolis uses ranked choice voting. And if you've never heard of ranked choice voting, well, I get that. It's not widely adopted in the US. In fact, 17 Republican states have outright banned ranked choice voting. The Republican National Committee even adopted a resolution to formally oppose it. And hell, if it's got Republicans this scared, it must be good, right? Well, ranked choice voting is a pretty easy system to understand. You get a ballot. Let's say it has 3 candidates on it. You now rank those candidates in order of preference. First choice, second choice, and third choice. So gone would be the days of choosing just one candidate. In fact, you can rank as many or as few as you'd like. In counting, how this works is all the first vote choices get counted first. And if a candidate gets over 50% of the vote, they win. No harm, no foul. But if no one gets over 50%, then that's when you have a runoff. Whoever has the fewest votes, they get eliminated. And then all of the people who voted for that person, well, their votes now go towards their next pick. And the cycle repeats and repeats until someone does get at least 50% of the vote. Now, Republicans will tell you, now, this is too complicated for people. They'll never understand it. We can't change now. But the truth is, they're scared that a change like this could disrupt most of their elections across the country, and they lose. Big time. But we can tell you that when it comes to Fatah, polling is pretty consistent. And even though we haven't had a direct poll since August, he's the clear frontrunner. Fatah has also formed a coalition with 2 other candidates, Dwayne Davis and Jazz Hampton, who are to the left of the incumbent Jacob Frey. They're asking voters to rank all 3 of them on their ballots, denying Jacob Frey from being ranked at all. Fatah is running on a very similar platform to Zohran Mamdani, the New York City Democratic mayoral candidate, who we'll talk about in a bit. Both of their platforms focus on the one word Republicans hate most of all: affordability. Rent stabilization, an increased minimum wage, free college tuition, all ways to make Minneapolis more affordable to the people who live there. And that's to say nothing about Fatah's ideas behind social safety reform. I mean, look, it's no surprise that 5 years after George Floyd's murder at the hands of Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, that current mayor Jacob Frey has no real plans to address police reform in the city. Now, this race has also exposed deep divisions within Minneapolis's Democratic Farmer Labor Party. In July, the Minneapolis DFL endorsed Fatah. They did it at a convention, which was the first mayoral endorsement in about 16 years. But under pressure from Frey supporters and party donors, the state DFL revoked the endorsement in August, citing technical irregularities in the voting process. And despite the establishment pushback, Fatah has built impressive grassroots momentum. His campaign says they've knocked on 100,000 doors and pushed thousands of people to vote early. The Sunrise Movement, a national climate justice organization, is heavily involved in mobilizing young voters for his campaign as well. And now, let's turn our attention to the Pacific Northwest, because Seattle is experiencing its own progressive insurgency. Katie Wilson, community organizer and co-founder of the Transit Riders Union, is challenging their incumbent mayor, Bruce Harrell, in what has become a surprisingly competitive race.
I'm Katie Wilson, and I'm running for Seattle mayor. I want to address the very first scandal of my political life. Now, I don't have years of experience managing scandals like my opponent does, so bear with me. A few days ago, it felt like everyone in Seattle got this text message from Harrell's campaign about me. Mom, did you hear about this?
No. Let's see it. Katie Wilson's campaign built around working class identity, but parents pay her bills? So is this about Josie, my granddaughter's childcare? I mean, doesn't he know that childcare is really expensive in Seattle, and aren't families supposed to take care of each other?
Yeah, honestly, I think he's kind of out of touch. I mean, Harrell's been in office for almost 2 decades, and now he's suddenly talking about affordability. He even says that he wants to expand childcare.
Well, that's good, but right before the election, it seems kind of strategic.
Yeah, he's saying a lot about how he wants to help working families and stand up against corporate interests. But you know what? There's $2 million in big money betting that he doesn't follow through.
That is $2 million I do not have to give you, my dear.
That's okay, Mom. I really appreciate you chipping in for childcare during a stressful campaign. And I also know that a lot of families aren't that lucky. That's why I'm going to fight for affordable childcare and affordable housing so that working families can live in this city.
That's my Katie. All right, moms and grandmas, get out there and vote.
Now, Wilson shocked the political establishment by winning over 50% of the vote in the August primary. And something to note, Seattle uses a jungle primary, which is a nonpartisan primary where the top 2 candidates move forward to the general election regardless of party affiliation. And it is very rare, and I mean very rare, that a primary candidate ends up losing in the general election after earning over 50% of the primary vote. Now, can you guess what Wilson's platform is centered around? I'll give you a second. Just type it into chat. Just take a quick guess. Oh, that's right. It's affordability. And it comes from real, genuine personal experience. She and her husband are very open about receiving financial help from her parents to pay their $2,200 monthly childcare bills for their 2-year-old daughter. Her key proposals include higher minimum wage, rent stabilization, increasing corporate taxes to fund public services, and expanding public transportation. She's also been very focused on her House Now approach to combating homelessness. The plan is to use nearly 3,000 vacant affordable housing units that already exist in Seattle to immediately house houseless people, rather than waiting years for new construction to be completed. Now let's get to know more about Wilson's opponent running against all these amazing policies to make Seattle more affordable. Now, that would be incumbent Mayor Bruce Harrell, a millionaire who lives in a $4 million home along Lake Washington. He's tried to paint Wilson as out of touch and inexperienced, something all these people tend to do against their opponents. He actually thought attacking her for accepting financial help from her parents for childcare would help his campaign. But it backfired tremendously, and it only rallied the community around her even more. Between that and the over $1.6 million in corporate PAC money, his favorability ratings are a little bit underwater, with 42% of Seattle voters viewing him unfavorably compared to the 32% who still thinks the guy that attacks struggling families is just still a pretty rad guy. Now, if Wilson wins tomorrow, her victory would prove that grassroots organizing can defeat corporate money even when the incumbent has a nearly 2-to-1 financial advantage. And last up, what is arguably the most watched election since the presidential race of 2024, the New York City mayoral race. It is most likely the case that as of tomorrow, Zoran Mamdani, a Democratic Socialist candidate, will become the youngest mayor of America's largest city since 1889. This is a manifestation, so I need everyone to pool your collective leftist rage into this one, okay? Mamdani faces former governor and award-winning sexual harasser Andrew Cuomo, who's running as an independent after losing the Democratic primary to Mamdani early this year, further cementing the fact that Cuomo won't hesitate to violate your consent. Also in the race is Republican and Red Beret aficionado Curtis Silva, who, if I'm being honest, deserves a spot in Zoran's administration. I know it sounds weird, but it will make sense later, I promise. But first, let's talk about the polling, since we actually have recent and relevant numbers. Now, according to the most recent Quinnipiac poll, the October 29th Mamdani leads. From October 29th, Mamdani leads with 43% support among likely voters, compared to Cuomo's 33% and Sliwa's 14%. A Pix 11 Emerson College poll from late October shows Mamdani with an even more commanding 25-point lead at 50% versus Cuomo's 25% and Sliwa's 21%. The Manhattan Institute poll has Mamdani at 43%, Cuomo at 28%, and Sliwa at 19%, which includes undecided voters and other candidates. And perhaps most importantly, Mamdani has extraordinary enthusiasm amongst his supporters. In Quinnipiac's survey, 91% of Mamdani voters say they're locked in and they won't change their minds. That's the highest of any candidate. Now, you all know his platform, but in case you've been living under a rock for the last 6 months, here are his main goals: rent freezes, universal childcare for all, fast and free public buses, a pilot program for government-owned grocery stores to provide an alternative to larger chains, and a 2% tax on those earning over $1 million annually. Now, the corporate puppet, establishment Democrats, are terrified of Mamdani, not just because of his working-class policies, but his stance on Palestine. Now, both the House and Senate minority leaders, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, who also both happen to hail from New York, are deep in the pockets of the Zionist lobby and have made their stances on Mamdani clear. Jeffries is one of the top AIPAC recipients in the country. He represents the 8th District of New York in Brooklyn and refuses to endorse Mamdani, after Mamdani won the primary. Mamdani didn't secure his support until the day before early voting began. It took him 123 days to, and I quote, deeply respect the will of the primary voters. Or was it 123 days to calculate whether betraying AIPAC's interest was worth the political cost? Either way, we're not impressed. Schumer is also notably in the favor of Israel's apartheid and genocidal efforts. Still, he refuses to endorse Mamdani. In fact, Chuck Schumer very rarely endorses any Muslim candidates. The only instance we could find for an elected position was his endorsement of Keith Ellison to DNC chair in 2016. Ellison betrayed Palestinian liberation to appease the Zionists in the Democratic Party, convincing other progressives to support Zionist policies in the platform. And this is what earned him Schumer's endorsement for DNC chair. Through the magazine The Atlantic, Schumer signaled to AIPAC that Ellison would be a good little Zionist movement, and quoted saying, "While I disagree with some of his past positions, I saw him orchestrate one of the most pro-Israel platforms in decades by successfully persuading other skeptical committee members to adopt such a strong platform." Now, if you are unfamiliar or unsure about Mamdani's stance regarding the apartheid and genocide of the Palestinian people and why AIPAC vehemently opposes him, he has been very clear on his stance.
Do you support Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state?
I support Israel's right to exist as a state with equal rights. I believe that every state...
Why not as a Jewish state?
Because I'm not comfortable supporting any state that has a hierarchy of citizenship on the basis of religion or anything else. I think that in the way that we have in this country, equality should be enshrined in every country in the world. That's my belief.
All right.
Now, Mamdani has built a remarkably strong campaign. He's been endorsed by progressives like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and his surprise primary victory brought significant numbers of new and young voters into the process. Mamdani's win will resonate far beyond New York's 5 boroughs and hopefully reignite young progressives into the political process. Mamdani's strategy is clear. Build a strong, divisive coalition of unrelenting New Yorkers that will push for the policies that will make the city safe and affordable. Which is why I think Zoran should unironically appoint Curtis Sliwa as New York City's feline parade grand marshal. Now, I do want to be very clear about one thing. When it comes to all 3 of these candidates, we cannot take our focus off of them after the election. What they're promising are big and sweeping changes, and we need to hold feet to the fire about getting these promises accomplished. Hold politicians accountable. If they fail to meet every promise they made, that's okay. But make sure they're trying. Make sure they don't lose sight of working class people after they finally get into office. Okay? Now, please remember to like, share, subscribe. Listen, we're almost at 3,000 subscribers here on Red Mirror Media. Okay? So don't forget to check out our Patreon. Where you can watch videos over there. You can watch Weekly Dump. You can watch Critical Mass. All of these things ad free. Okay, remember all of that. Now, we were going to take a break. I don't want to take a break. I want to keep going because we have a literal bombshell of a report for you guys about what's going on in Argentina that you don't want to miss. So, buckle up, buckaroos, because we're going to talk about some crazy shit. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we were going to touch on the $40 billion being sent to Argentina by the Trump administration. But, we couldn't make it into the studio, and I'm kind of glad we didn't, because it gave our elite research team here at the Weekly Dump an opportunity to dig a little deeper, dive a little further, and dredge up important information that at this point should be no surprise to fans of the show. They're back. Now remember, Curtis Yarvin, the guy we covered who thinks democracy is obsolete software that needs to be replaced with CEO kings. And, oh man, who could forget Peter Thiel, his billionaire patron who publicly said that he no longer believes that freedom and democracy are compatible. Do you happen to recall how we showed you how they got their protege J.D. Vance elected as president? How about Larry and David Ellison, who control CBS News and will soon run the TikTok algorithm? Well, we asked nicely for you all to remember who they are and what they're doing, because we figured we'd see their weirdo fascist faces again soon. I hope not this soon, but folks, turns out they've been beta testing their corporate dictatorship model across the globe, and I cannot stress this enough. This is another one of those batshit insane stories. If you don't watch till the end, you won't get the full picture. Okay, so here's what we know. The Trump administration, they just committed $40 billion to bail out Argentina's economy. That's $20 billion from U.S. taxpayers through an emergency fund that doesn't need congressional approval, plus another $20 billion they're scrounging up from private banks. Now you might be thinking, wait, didn't Trump promise America first? Why are we sending $40 billion to Argentina while Americans can't get food stamps? Great question, Valley Girl Jovan. Now, I, as a rational being, know the answer. And let's talk about it. Because we need to talk about who's really getting bailed out here. And his name is Robert Citron. And he's an American hedge fund billionaire that runs Discovery Capital Management. Now, after Argentina elected Libertarian President Javier Milei in December of 2023, Citron went all in, betting hundreds of millions on Argentine bonds and stocks because he believed Milei's anarcho-capitalist policies would make him rich. Other private equity firms, such as BlackRock, Fidelity, and PIMCO, joined in on the parlay as well. And what happened next, and shouldn't surprise anybody, they were going to lose. And lose big time. By September 2025, Milei's austerity policies had crashed the economy so hard that Citron's investments were circling the drain. So what did he do? He called up his old buddy Scott Bessent, Trump's Treasury Secretary, and he asked for a bailout. Now you might be thinking, Jovan, just because someone's in the Trump administration doesn't mean they're tied into the dark Enlightenment butterfly revolution ideology. They're not necessarily involved in a secret club of billionaires that want to subjugate the working class into a life of perpetual corporate servitude with our knees bent in reverence of our tech bro liege lords. Yeah, about that. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is allegedly involved in an organization known as Dialogue, a secretive invitation-only social club that was founded by Peter Thiel and Orrin Hoffman that wants to subjugate the working class into a life of perpetual and corporate servitude with our knees bent in reverence of our tech bro liege lords. Now, full transparency. There is only one source that cites Scott's involvement in Dialogue, and that's an Axios article by Mike Allen that cites an anonymous source that claims to have insider knowledge of this organization. However, we were able to find multiple independent sources that confirmed the existence of Dialogue altogether. One source was Andrew Gelman, a professor of statistics and political science at Columbia University. Now, he posted on the Columbia University Statistics Forum on February 16th, 2022, his invitation to Dialogue's 2022 retreat. This email included a partial list of attendees, and by cross-referencing this partial list from 2022 with the Axios reporting, we could see there's a lot of overlap of some of those allegedly in attendance. Grover Norquist, Anne-Marie Slaughter, Tulsi Gabbard, Richard Haas, and of course, co-founder Orrin Hoffman appear on both lists. Scott's name was not on the list in Gelman's invitation email, and so that trail ended there. Side note, Professor Gelman stated he would not attend due to the $16K ticket price. He commented saying he'd rather spend the money on 4,222 Big Macs. Respect. It's nice to know somebody likes to eat like our president. So, to recap so far, we know for sure Scott Bessent is at the helm of the Argentina bailout. We know for sure Scott Bessent and Robert Citron have a long-lasting personal relationship. And we know for sure Robert Citron has the most to gain from this bailout, and he personally worked with Scott Bessent on the bailout. And we know for sure Dialogue exists as a group founded by Peter Thiel and Orrin Hoffman. But we don't know for sure if Scott Bessent attended a Dialogue retreat. And even if he did, there's no guarantee that he even spoke with Thiel or anyone else involved in the Dark Enlightenment. But it's very clear Scott Bessent funneled our tax dollars to save billionaire private equity. However, if so far you're still not convinced, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is directly tied to Peter Thiel and the Dark Enlightenment. Look, I get it. One anonymous source reported by Axios isn't enough. I mean, it's not like Scott Bessent has been working tirelessly to keep Peter Thiel's financial ties with Jeffrey Epstein hidden from congressional investigation and the general public. Oh, wait, yes, he has! Democratic Senator Ron Wyden, Senate Finance Committee, has been investigating Jeffrey Epstein's financial network since 2022. And this year, they expanded that investigation to include Peter Thiel and his venture capital firm, Valar Ventures. Why? Because Jeffrey Epstein invested $40 million in Peter Thiel's Valar Ventures back in 2015 and 2016. So the Senate Finance Committee had access to suspicious activity reports, financial records that could reveal who profited from Epstein's operation. They got that access under the Biden administration in 2024. But after the committee began looking into Epstein's investments into Peter Thiel's venture capitalist firm, Scott fucking Bessent revoked that access. After Senator Wyden's repeated requests for this information were denied, he went so far as to write an amendment called the Produce Epstein Treasury Records Act, also known as PETRA, to the National Defense Authorization Act. Republicans declined to even vote on PETRA, keeping Peter Thiel's Epstein finances a secret. Oh, and one more thing. That $40 million investment is now worth $170 million. Senator Ron Wyden put it bluntly, quote, "The basic question here is whether a bunch of rich pedophiles and Epstein accomplices are going to face any consequences for their crimes, and Scott Bessent is doing his best to make sure they won't." This is our U.S. Treasury Secretary, appointed by Donald Trump himself. And to top it off, we have to tell you, Robert Citron bought more bonds just days before Scott announced the bailout. Almost like he had insider information. Gee, I wonder how that happened. It gets so much worse, though. Remember those asset management giants we talked about? Fidelity, PIMCO, the firms that own pieces of, like, everything. Well, they're major shareholders in Argentine bonds, too. And they're also major shareholders in the tech companies that just donated to Trump's $300 million White House ballroom. You know, Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and Vanity Project. It's like if corruption had a baby, named that baby Corruption Jr., then that baby grew up to have two corruption baby twins. Now let's talk about why they're propping up Argentina. Because this isn't just about saving hedge fund bros. Why? Bad investments. Guys, I hear myself in the chat. in my headphones. I'm just going to turn them off. Okay. So, Javier Milei is implementing exactly the kind of government Curtis Yarvin dreams about. Peter Thiel met with Javier Milei at Casa Rosada, which is Argentina's White House. Except it's pink. In May of 2024, where Thiel reportedly said he believes Milei's ideas are as relevant globally as they are for Argentina. Now, while there's no documented evidence of specific private equity investments by Thiel in Argentina that we could find, it's pretty fucking clear that Curtis Yarvin's Dark Enlightenment is at the core of these policies. And sure, we could go into Elon Musk's little bromance with Milei, where at CPAC 2025, oh, the chat can hear two of me. Is the YouTube video audio on in your browser? Okay, thank you. Okay. Should I go back? I feel like I should go back. No, we're fine. So we could get into Elon Musk's little bromance with Milei, where at CPAC 2025, Milei granted Elon a golden chainsaw that represented all the slashing they would do through Doge, which they did. Make no mistake about it, but that is just surface level political posturing for the memes. The real terror set in when our research led to key figures in Milei's inner circle. I mean it when I say this. The real story today starts here. Everything up until now has just been an appetizer. And not like a triple dipper at Chili's where the appetizers fill you up for a fair price on a family-friendly night out. No, this is like a lousy plate of lukewarm mozzarella sticks with no cheese pull and sitting there like the main meal better get here soon or I'm going to flip fucking tables. Enter Javier Milei's chief advisor, Santiago Caputo, political coordinator, Lucas Luna, and, shit you not, I'm not making this up, I swear to God, this isn't a joke, social media trolling chief, Fat Dan, aka Daniel Persini. Now, before you laugh, understand this. These three men share an office in Casa Rosada. They control Argentina's intelligence services, they command an anonymous army of troll accounts, and they're true believers in monarchism, anti-democratic ideology wrapped in militant Catholic nationalism. Now, before we move forward, we need to take a second to explain SIDE, which is Argentina's primary intelligence agency. Back in the 1970s and 1980s, Argentina was led by a US-backed military dictatorship, and they used SIDE to operate a murderous secret police that tortured and disappeared left-wing activists. SIDE dissolved in 2015 after a prosecutor who was investigating a government cover-up of a 1994 bombing was murdered. The agency was completely shut down, rebuilt, and renamed the AFI. Now, when Milei took office, he gave control of intelligence restructuring to Santiago Caputo. Caputo dissolved the AFI and brought back SIDE under its old name. Then Caputo gave SIDE a budget increase of over 100 billion pesos and burned through 80% of those discretionary funds within 3 weeks. No oversight, no accountability. In late 2024, investigative journalist Hugo Alcanda Man obtained a report on a leaked 170-page document called the National Intelligence Plan. The plan is deliberately vague. It's filled with what reporting describes as generalizations, gray areas, and ambiguities. Anyone who erodes public trust in security officials or anyone who generates loss of trust in government economic policies becomes a government target for surveillance. In other words, if you're an economist who criticizes Milei's policies, you're a surveillance target. If you're a journalist reporting on government failures, you're manipulating public opinion. If you're an academic questioning austerity measures, you're spreading disinformation. When this leaked, Milei's government denied SIDE would persecute critics, but they never denied the plan exists. They claimed they're restructuring intelligence after it was dismantled by previous administrations. What they're really doing is building a surveillance apparatus aimed at domestic critics, not foreign threats. These people are using the exact same framework Yarvin has written about time and time again, but this time wrapped up in nice and neat Christo-fascist packages. And here's where international coordination becomes undeniable. Pete Hegseth, Trump's Secretary of War, has openly embraced militant Christian nationalism and the belief that the West is in existential civilizational war. Caputo is implementing the exact same ideology in Argentina with the full backing of U.S. political power. In November 2024, the Argentine trio launched the Forces of Heaven, something akin to the 1930s Madison Square Garden Nazi rally. Roman imperial aesthetics, banners reading God, property, liberty, family, and Fat Dan declaring on stage, quote, "We are the armed wing, the Praetorian Guard of President Javier Milei. We are your most loyal soldiers." Understand what the Forces of Heaven actually represents. Political leaders presenting themselves as divinely appointed messiahs, leading people to a promised land. But that promised land isn't heaven. It's the total free market, the complete elimination of state control over businesses. For Milei and his circle, the state isn't bad policy, it's literal satanic. Milei has repeatedly called the state the instrument of the devil and the Antichrist. This is religious language being used to justify economic brutality. They do not care who becomes poor and disenfranchised as long as they keep earning and earning and earning and earning and earning and earning and earning. And here's where it connects to the Dark Enlightenment. Peter Thiel shares this exact obsession with the Antichrist. Thiel has written extensively about the Antichrist in his political work, particularly his idea that centralized state power represents the Antichrist's reign. He's so obsessed over the idea that even South Park clocked him on it. The theological language is consistent. Democracy is the Antichrist, the state is Satan, the market is God, and they mean this literally. Anyone who questions the market isn't just wrong. No, you're literally the devil. Now, I'm the devil for a lot of reasons, but my questioning of the free market for sure isn't one of them. This was all echoed at that rally. One of the speakers at the Forces of Heaven rally, Nahul Sotelo, the current Secretary of Worship and Civilization, that's a real government position, I swear to God, look it up, said, quote, "Victory doesn't depend on soldiers, but on forces that come from heaven." Another guest speaker at the Forces for Heaven rally, Augustine Leahy, who runs a culture war think tank against universities and progressive institutions that he said is crystal clear about the enemy. It's academia, media, and progressive organizations. This is the same enemy Curtis Jarvin refers to as the cathedral. Augustine Leahy also told the crowd, quote, "Argentina is divided between the good and the evil. On one side, we defend life and human dignity. On the other side are the leftist sons of bitches." Leftist Sons of Bitches is my new band name, by the way, and we play ska and ska-adjacent music only. Now let's talk about how these three chuckle fucks and their band of deeply disturbed sycophants are using intimidation cloaked by design writ to further their causes, leading Argentina. In February 2024, Santiago Caputo threatened Governor Ignacio Torres, warning him to either stop criticizing Javier Milei or he would unleash the, quote, social media tanks on him. A clear act of intimidation. Lucas Luna posted a video of a terrorist attack in Nigeria with the caption, "We don't hate Islam enough." When criticized internally, the faction war erupted. Why? Because many of their digital warriors adopted a specific ideological line aligned with European far-right movements. Movements Pete Hegseth studies, admires, and wants to replicate in US military policy. And if that wasn't enough for you, Fat Dan literally goes on his streaming show The Mass, not to be confused with my beautiful podcast, Critical Mass, and issued termination orders via Twitter. He told Agricultural Secretary Fernando Villela, "Start cleaning out your desk. I'm coming for you. You're no longer part of the government." The guy was fired the next day. This happened multiple times. This is the operation, y'all. Caputo controls intelligence and coordinates with international far-right networks. Luna enforces ideological discipline and manages territorial political organizations. And Fat Dan commands the digital army and serves as the public face. Would it surprise you to learn these people have organizational ties through CPAC? Yes, that's CPAC, the American-based Conservative Political Action Committee. The same CPAC that organized with Viktor Orban, the current dictator of Hungary, and grandson of a Nazi war veteran. Oh, and Santiago Abascal from Spain's Vox Party, and grandson of a Francisco Franco mayoral appointee. Oh, and Jose Antonio Cast, Chile's current Republican candidate for president, and the son of a Nazi party member that fled Germany after the war. These people are like 2 degrees of separation from literal Nazis, and we're supposed to believe they're on the side of righteousness. This is why they're so fanatically pro-Israel and pro-US, even at the expense of their own national interests. They believe they're part of a superior Western Christian civilization, in an apocalyptic battle against anyone who challenges corporate power. But how could Argentinians vote for any of this? And what did they get from it? Decades of neoliberal policy in Argentina, ending with the 1990s privatization binge, crashed the currency and inflicted irreparable damage to the economy. The devastation was so complete that not even 16 years of left-wing government could stop the inflation spiral. And it was another neoliberal who took power back in 2015 and completely crashed the currency again within 4 years. So by 2023, Argentinians were living through 211% annual inflation. Prices were rising 13% every single month. People were spending their paychecks the second they got them because the money would be worth less tomorrow. That's the crisis Milei inherited. But here's what people don't understand. That crisis was manufactured. The previous government was printing money to fund deficits, sure, but that was happening because international creditors and capital flight had already strangled the economy. The IMF had already saddled Argentina with $44 billion in debt from the last neoliberal president's disasters. So when Milei came in waving a chainsaw promising to kill inflation, people were desperate. They were willing to try anything, and he did lower inflation by absolutely destroying demand. You can't have inflation if nobody can afford to buy anything. But inflation falling didn't mean people got richer. It just meant they stopped getting poorer as fast. Their actual incomes are still lower than they were in 2023. They're working worse jobs. They've been spending less for 15 months straight. The recovery is just statistical sleight of hand. That's exactly what makes this the perfect dark enlightenment laboratory. And private equity bailouts was one of their experiments. So here's the scheme in a nutshell. Okay? December 2023, Milei takes power. By December 2024, Argentine stocks and bonds surged in value while real wages kept falling. More than 250,000 jobs lost since Milei came to power, with around 18,000 businesses closing. January 2025, Citron extracts market gains. April 2025, Citron secures $20 billion IMF loan through his buddy Scott Bessent. September 7th, Milei's party loses a provincial election, causing a market crash. Argentina's government had to sell nearly $700 million to prevent the currency from falling further. At the same time, Citron and other private equity firms pick up securities for dirt cheap, and 2 weeks later, Bessent announces another $20 billion, and then $20 billion more. October 2025, bailout is received. Milei and the forces of heaven sweep elections. Citron and other private equities made hundreds of millions doing this. Citron personally pocketed $730 million. He called his buddy Scott Bessent at Treasury and he asked for a bailout. And shortly before the $40 million bailout was announced, Citron bought more bonds for pennies on the dollar. Again, it's almost like he had insider information. They already cashed out on the way up. Now they're getting bailed out on the way down so they can cash out again. Milei and his fascist cronies are aiding in market manipulation to manipulate elections. These people are testing what works, what level of suffering populations will tolerate, what surveillance tactics are most effective, how to use religious nationalism to justify economic brutality. And let me say something directly to anyone still clinging to the fantasy that normal capitalism and liberal democracy will protect us from this. Wake up. Wake the fuck up. Neoliberalism helps incubate fascism. It creates the conditions that make fascism inevitable. What do you think happens when you get social programs and inequality explodes while you tell millions of people that the market will solve everything on its own when it clearly hasn't in decades? Within 10 years from getting off the gold standard, neoliberalism accelerated and amplified capital's ability to move freely in and out of communities as they please. This inevitably led to working-class American jobs being sent overseas, factories that supported the whole community being shut down, leaving only the broken remnants of once vibrant towns behind in the dust. Every center-left politician clutching their pearls about how extreme leftist policies are. Every liberal who screams about Trump while defending the same corporate power structure that created him, and every Democrat that continues to take corporate and APAC money is fully supportive of the parasitic capitalist class ability to freely infect our communities, extract our souls, and leave the rotting corpse on its way to find a new host. The academic research is unambiguous. Fascism emerges as capitalism's solution to its own crisis. It's the armed response of propagandized and brainwashed people demanding the system actually serve them instead of bleeding them dry, completely unaware of the vampiric force that helped create it. So, Democrats, liberals, and progressives who think we're just one midterm election away from voting ourselves out of all of this, while keeping the neoliberal economic order intact for generations, you can't. If this were to be salvaged, it would take generations of steady, disciplined, noticeable pain and electoral dominance. That's not something the American electorate is able or willing to subscribe to. We need to address the root of capital head on. Now, while you're watching in Argentina, what you're seeing is a dress rehearsal. Opening night, for us, right around the corner, baby. This is Christofascism International. This is the Butterfly Revolution. This is the Dark Enlightenment. This is the fusion of religious extremism and market fundamentalism. The surveillance state apparatus wrapped in fucking crosses and chainsaws. This is where your sensible and pragmatic center-left leads to every single goddamn time. Either you fight with us and demand working-class leadership to dismantle the economic system that creates desperate and angry populations ripe for fascist recruitment, or you can watch this happen again and again and again and again and again until there's nothing left to save. It's time to wake the fuck up. Now, I can't keep stressing this enough. The Dark Enlightenment is not a conspiracy theory, y'all. It's just not. At this point, you have to see that. This is the third time in 3 months that we began researching a story where eventually all the evidence points back to literally these two fucking guys. And I have a feeling this won't be the last time. Now that's it for the news portion of our show today. If you want to call in to debate or talk about anything we've covered, the number to call is 914-268-6224. That number again, 914-268-6224. We will be right back after this short break, and we'll take your calls and answer your questions, and we'll talk to you. See you soon. Hello. Hi. Welcome to the discussion portion of the show where we discuss portions of the show. If you want to talk, 914-268-6224 is the number. We have a couple of people on the queue that I know are friendlies that want to just discuss stuff. But if you do want to debate any of the stuff we talked about, or you want to debate me, call that number, I guess. Do it. You have until like 6:45. That's how long we're taking calls up until. So, first coming up onto the show, we have D. D is 32 and wants to call to discuss communist reading material and possibly having a Jovan fan book club. I've tried. Anyway, welcome in, D. How are you doing? Welcome to the Weekly Dump, where we take a shit on your takes. How's it going?
Oh, dude, it's going great. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Before we continue, I just want to make sure chat can hear you and everything is all good. Chat, let me just get a confirmation y'all can hear D.
Check
And
one,
then we'll
two.
move forward with the conversation.
Check 1, 2. Can everybody hear me?
Okay, beautiful. All right, D. D. Now you said you want to talk about communist reading material. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, well, man. Sorry, I just got kind of like hit the jitters out, man. Like, you're kind of the person I've been listening to the most for like probably the last like 2 months, and it's like kind of talking to a celebrity right now.
Oh my god, D, buy me dinner first. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
So I just like over the last few months listening to you, you've inspired me to pick up the manifesto. I just picked up Communist Manifesto yesterday, and it's a short read. I know I'm gonna just like pile through it, and I kind of just wanted to get. I want to say you had a what's it called? A Discord server where you have like a bunch of recommendations.
Yeah, so
Or
we
if
do
you-
have a Red Mirror Discord server where
okay.
Okay.
What's the best way of getting on that?
In order to access that, you need to either support me on my page, that's through YouTube or Twitch, like become a sub or a member on YouTube or Twitch, or you join the Red Mirror Patreon. Those are the
Okay.
three ways to get on there. You get access to it if you join like the first tier on my YouTube, which is like $2.99 a month. We do
Okay.
keep the Discord locked down because I've had issues with like doxing and Discord server raids, so we just keep it locked to supporters.
I can only imagine.
Now, I will say I have tried so many times, so many times to start a book club.
I
So
know
many.
it.
But
Dude,
nobody reads the books.
I believe it, and honestly, I don't even know if I'd be able to like keep up because I'm not the best reader. But I'm just like I guess I'm just one more person to kind of throw another piece of straw on your back, and like I'm hoping that you'll break here soon and get it going. You were talking earlier about doing a Communist Manifesto audiobook, and I'm like, get that going. Like, you have a great
Yeah,
voice
no,
for this, man.
it's actually something that we are talking about here at Red Mirror of doing is producing not just an audiobook, but like a study guide, a Jovadio book, if you will, where
Oh man, I love it.
where I you know, where I read it and then I explain what's going on.
Awesome. Well, so the screener recommended a book by oh gosh, I'm gonna butcher the name, Umberto Eco.
Umberto Eco, yep. Did they recommend your fascism? Is that what it's called? Producer Steve
I
would know full name.
I possibly, I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, the Your Fascism is a book by Umberto Eco that basically just he used his fascism, thank you. Where he just describes fascism from the lens of Hitler, Franco, and Mussolini, and gives characteristics and traits that are common in fascist authoritarian dictatorships.
All right. Would you recommend like that being like a good kind of second stepping stone after Communist Manifesto?
I would actually start before you start with that. I would read Black Shirts in Red. Wait, I actually have that here, don't I? Hold on. Let me double check. I have that here. I do. You know, it's funny. I tried to talk about this book on stream the other day, and I was like, oh my God, where's the book? And I remembered it's here at the studio. Michael Parenti's Black Shirts in Red, I think is a much easier read for like English speaking audiences. And it dives into how basically the antithesis to worker movements is fascism, because fascism is like inherently anti-worker. And he talks about Hitler and how Hitler had major ties with the capitalists at the time, Mussolini's ties with capitalists, as well as Mussolini's change from a pro-worker organizer to a pro-fascist organizer. This is what I would read after the manifesto. I would then go right to this one, in my personal opinion.
Okay, Black Shirts in Red.
Yep, by Michael Parenti.
All right, I will definitely put that on the list. And yeah, that was really all I had for you. I'm gonna try and get on that Discord. Money's tight, but I'll definitely kind of try to prioritize that. You are probably the main source of my entertainment lately, so I just gotta support it.
Over Marvel? That's crazy.
Over, dude, yeah. As a pretty big Marvel fan, like I read all the Ghost Riders and all the new Godzilla stuff coming out. I gotta say, like you're way more educational than any Godzilla book I've read. So
hey, well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, D, and thank you for calling into the show. You didn't have a take that needed shitted on because your take was primarily glazing me, which we love a good glaze. Pause.
Hell yeah.
Resume.
Can I just two personal, really quick questions?
Depending on how personal, I tend to not answer personal questions as much, but you can try it. Yeah.
I just want to know your favorite Pokemon and favorite band.
Favorite Pokemon is Arcanine. Favorite band is whatever band song is currently playing over and over in my head. Right now, all I keep hearing in my head just keeps going, I'm not a perfect person. And it doesn't stop. It just keeps going over and over again. So that's my favorite, wait, shit. Who was that? That was,
Couldn't tell you, dude.
Shit.
I'm
gonna have to give up my 90s card. What the fuck?
Dude, and I should know it. I'm a big metal guy, and I know you're not a fan, and like, oh, dude, something's gonna push you over the edge. Are you familiar with the YouTube channel Hate56?
I am not now.
Check them out, dude. They like big time, like I don't know. They play a lot of cool music, totally in this kind of like field of like, if you check it out, Hate56, really cool metal music coming out of there. There's a lot of really cool, I don't know, things they're going on about. Again, I'm really nervous. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. Just wanted man, it's crazy talking to you. So I hope you have a really good rest of your stream.
Yeah.
I hope the rest of your week of calls and debates go really well. Eat them up. You're the best at this. So.
All right. Well,
cool,
D,
man.
Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you for dropping by. We love, like I said, we love a good glazing. That was D, everybody. Let's give a WD in the chat. And everybody's reminding me it was Hopastank. Thank you so much. I was like, how am I forgetting? I genuinely felt like my 90s kid card needed to be taken away. Next up. Oh. This is gonna be a fun one. Let me take a little sip of water. Let me take a little sip. This is going to be entertaining. No, what are you doing? I got... Okay, Vampy, I'll bring you up in a second. I'm going to bring up Robert. Now, Robert, he's 34, and he wants to tell me that the Epstein list is primarily Democrats, and that the Democrats, I assume, don't want to release it. I don't know how he's going to defend this. Robert, welcome to the Weekly Dump, where we shit on your takes. How's it going?
Oh, going fine. Okay, there may have been a mistranscription.
Okay.
While I do think that the list may comprise more Democrats, but for the Republicans, it's worse. However,
Okay.
I do believe for the best of the Democratic Party that a list that has been redacted to only show Democratic names is best because we have a gerontocracy problem. If we look at, let's say, Zohran Mamdani,
Mm-hmm.
he's in the age range of, I guess, a lot of millennials.
Mm-hmm.
He has no connection whatsoever to any of the elite pedophile protection stuff going on, money changer issues at the top, due strictly just to age. Like, there's so much age difference between that. It would be best because on the Democratic side, if there was concrete evidence put out that you were protecting a pedophile or, you were in collusion with them in terms of Epstein, it would do damage to your career and you'd have to leave.
So here's
Versus
my
on the Republican
only. So I recognize there probably are some Democrats on the list. I actually think there's not as many as people think, and my only reason for believing this is when it came to voting on releasing the material from the list, almost every Democrat said yes. The vote was like 51-49, Democrats versus Republicans. 51 was Republicans voting not to release, 49 was Democrats. I'm sorry, 51 was Democrats voting. No, I was right. 51 was Republicans voting to block the release. 49 was Democrats voting to release the thing, along with like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was also like, yes, release it, which was like, good on you, I guess. I don't know that Democrats would be pushing so hard, especially in voting, if they felt either a bunch of them were on the list or, like, at least in the Senate, it would appear that not many of them are on the list because they're voting to release it. Unless their hope is like, we're going to vote to release, but the Republicans are never going to vote to release, so we're good. But if that were also the case,
Exactly.
Democrats wouldn't be trying to push through. What is her name? That woman that got confirmed that we're just
Eileen
waiting.
Halsey.
Yeah. Whose vote will push the list over the edge. If it was the case that Democrats believed that, like, they're on the list, but they wanted to vote to cover it up, why would they be pushing so hard to get her confirmed, knowing her vote will push the list to be released?
All right, there's been this game that has been constantly played, and we've been seeing it actually kind of since, I would say, the Great Society with LBJ, where as minority peoples, Black peoples, Hispanic peoples have been brought into like the full civil union of the U.S., both sides at the top have major players who, in an attempt to drain the U.S. financially, drain its people financially, play this game where it's good cop, bad cop, but both of the cops are bad cops. One is just worse. So if we look at, let's say, Obamacare, ACA, it's just Romney care on a larger scale. Well, we could have had a Republican do that. Mitt Romney could have just expanded it. Like, it was the job of someone like Obama to push for what Bernie wanted, which was universal health care.
I don't think the Democrats are really in the interest of actually pushing, like, is a especially if you listen to our last story of today, most of the Democratic Party is neoliberal. They don't want to move to things that would, like, lose capitalist money. So they don't want to move to a single payer or a Medicare for all system because I don't disagree that, like, Democrats are largely capitalist shills who will vote in favor of their capitalist interests. My only contention is, are these people actually, like, en masse on the Epstein list when they're the ones pushing to get it released? That's my only contention.
Hey, I'll put it like this. In terms of the amount of people, I guess, let's say with the House of Representatives or with some senators in the Democratic Party, are they actually on the list? No. But they have wealthy benefactors who, like, it come from both sides.
Yeah, but again, if I was a wealthy benefactor who was paying, now don't get me wrong, I think there are probably, like, it wouldn't shock me if the Clintons were on the list, right? It wouldn't shock me if Bill Clinton was on the list. And
Yeah,
like
of course, of
I
course they are.
understand
Right.
that they could have these wealthy benefactors, but if I was a wealthy benefactor who was on the list and I saw the person I was supporting in the House or in the Senate voting to release the list, I would change my mind about supporting that person because they're trying to get me caught.
Well, and this is what you have to understand with this. Because you're playing a shell game with what's going on, if the entirety of Congress, or if the vast majority of Congress all voted to not release the Epstein files, then you lose that bit of moral ground or standpoint from the side, because the left is supposed to be the side that is supposed to advocate for, workers' rights and mandatory reporting in terms of, people, if they see if they see, sexual offenses or stuff being done to kids. That is the presumption of what they have. They're supposed to be the good cop. And the right wing is supposed to be the bad cop. If you've noticed, there have been multiple times that the Democratic Party has had the supermajority. And despite having the supermajority, they didn't pass essential things. I'm saying Obama because he's one of the recent guys, but it's been with other, of course, with other Democratic politicians. But for him, when he ran Hope, Change, and he said, reproduction rights for women was a major priority when he was on the campaign trail. But then literally after he got elected, after he got sworn in, I think like a week or so later, he said, actually getting reproductive rights, Roe v. Wade, while I said on the campaign trail it was a major thing, we're going to deprioritize that. And you see later on, the Republicans, Heritage Foundation, a lot of these right-wing pundits and organizations were able to use Roe v. Wade not being enshrined by law, which was the job of the Democrats to do.
Yeah, but
when they had the supermajority.
I don't think the Democrats were ever pushing to it because they wanted to use Roe v. Wade as an election tactic. Like they wanted to always be able to fall back on vote for us or you'll lose your rights,
And this is the problem with it. You have so many elder individuals who are, let's say 10%. Let's say the top 10%. Let's say the Chuck Schumers, the Nancy Pelosi's, who will hold back an AOC or Zohran Mamdani, right? Their job is to corral into, like you said, piecemeal civil liberties. Problem is that the more civil liberties people get, the less you can actually give them until stuff becomes what we consider equal or righteous for people. Because the whole point has been to keep people away from economic equality. Look, they killed Dr. King over economic equality.
I'm not in disagreement on that. I'm just saying, like I said, I don't like the Democratic Party. I do think that we tend to have better outcomes, at least economically, under Democratic presidents. Like American citizens tend to do better, slightly under Democratic rule than they do under Republican rule. But like they're all simping for the same Jesus. You know what I mean?
And this is the thing. And while up until probably 3 years ago, I was very much a Cenk Uygur fan. He is correct in the fact that he stated we're under corporate rule and the corporate donors are the same for both sides. It's just that each party plays its own game. Both people can't be bad cops. Both people can't be good cops. Somebody's got to be the carrot. Somebody's got to be the stick. And as we've noticed over time, the carrot has gotten smaller and the stick has gotten larger.
Oh, 100%.
And personally in my family, there are people who are pedophiles and pedophile protectors in my family who are very right-wing leaning. Facts don't affect, but they believe in dogma more than they believe in truth.
Okay.
Like, these are people who will spout a lie, and they'll talk about Jesus, and they'll spout a lie. And I'll say, look, Jesus said, I am the truth, the way, and the light. So part of Jesus is part of truth, and their brain will click for a second, and they'll go right back to the BS. Like, Democrats, it's more important that the list is released, even if it's just Democrats on it, because that way,
Yeah, but
the
the only thing
Democratic Party will
Robert, the
have
only
to
thing I'll say to
purge.
that,
And the only people who will
is
be
sorry. The only thing I'll say to that, Robert, is the Democrats are trying to get it released, right? Like they are, and they want it released. We should have enough votes to release it. If that changes, and some Democrats now go, I'm going to vote, don't release it. I'm gonna have a problem with those people, and I'm gonna take it up with them.
and that's what I think is going to happen.
It might,
Just
but
as we had,
we can't
remember
do
with the
anything.
Build Back Better,
You can't
how
do anything
Kristen
till it does. You
Sinema
know?
and Joe Manchin at the last moment, it just so see this bill that'll really be great for America and bring jobs in and will increase pay for tradespeople and for people who came through college. And it's just, I don't know. And it's just, I got to hold out. That always seems to happen. Like, don't you think it's funny that there will be a large group of Democrats who will vote in the affirmative? And of course, you have people like AOC and Bernie Sanders who do care about what's positive, and they're, of course, they're the least liked in the party, but the most liked by the people.
Well, yeah. The further left you go,
And
the
then
least
all of a
likely the
sudden,
party's gonna like you. But Robert, we primarily agree. But we are at our time. So I do want to thank
okay,
you for calling in. Yeah, it's been a
yes, sir,
fun
thank you.
conversation.
All right, then, take care.
You too. It was Robert, everybody. Robert, who called in to talk about that. Next up, we're gonna bring up Vampy. Vampy is a longtime chatter, first time caller, who wants to talk about supporting Waltz in the third term for governor. So we're gonna bring Vampy up now. Vampy, welcome to Stream, friend. How are you doing?
Doing all right. Yourself?
Oh, we're say that again. I had a little trouble hearing you.
Oh, I said I'm doing fine. Yourself?
Oh, I'm doing good, Vampy. Thanks for calling in. Now, you wanted to talk about supporting Waltz in the third term election for governor. Is that true? Is that correct? Did I have that right?
Yeah, just kind of get your thoughts on that because I'm kind of conflicted over it.
Okay, and what leads you to be conflicted?
Well, I've always been against like long-term politicians, and
Mhm.
I can't really justify a governor going for a third term when I wouldn't want a president to do it, even if it's
Mhm.
like on a local scale. But at the same time, I'm battling kind of the fear of whoever takes over, even if it is another Democrat. Like, who knows what gets walked back? And
Yeah.
I guess it's
I
kind
mean,
of
looking at his record,
uncertainty.
I think Waltz is doing a pretty good job. I don't much care about term limits when it comes to governors, as long as they recognize when they hit a certain age that they've kind of outstayed their welcome. Um, I mean, as long as they're getting the job done properly. And I know Waltz has a decent track record. In it's Minnesota, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Minnesota.
yeah. Um, I mean, I don't know who he's up against. I don't know if there's anybody who's entered the running who has a bit more worker focused ideas. If there is, I would say we look into those people. But I mean, if it's just him versus a Republican, I mean, I think the answer is pretty obvious.
I guess I can see that.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just not too
It's like,
sure who he's up against. I wonder if I can find that out. Let me pull up my browser here. Okay, thank you, Chris.
I only know that he's the Republican.
Yeah, he's just up against the Republican candidate.
I only know of her.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if he has any other. Yeah.
Let me.
I know like some people are talking about potentially running, but I'm not sure if it's like any kind of like real competition. But also it's like that kind of precedent where I'm kind of like torn because like even if I support him now, get that kind of extension.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's pretty much running only against Republicans. I don't even see any independents on the list. Yeah. Um, it I get your reservation because I also believe we should get long-term politicians out. At least the way that the country's political river is going now, but if it's him versus Republicans, we gotta go. We gotta go him. Unfortunately, like I said, I mean, Republicans are just gonna walk back
Hmm.
the
Like
mouth.
all the sanctuary stuff that has kind of like made the state great, at least in
Yeah,
my opinion.
yeah, yeah. It looks like he's pretty much up against a giant MAGA. Technical director Chris is telling me he's up against Lisa DeMuth, who's like a hardcore. Thank you, Chris. A hardcore MAGA. Um, it sucks that
Yeah.
this is where I mean, it's what we always say. Like, it sucks we have to vote this way. Would love to have I would love Minnesota to have either ranked choice voting. I would love to have more independents on the list. I would love all of these things. But we're up against Walsh, who's going to push at least family and worker rights to a degree, and then a MAGA Republican who's going to do nothing but come in and do whatever Trump wants them to do. So unfortunately, I think the answer is kind of clear on that one.
Yeah, like I know who I'd vote for. It's just I like a better choice to not feel forced into it. Like I completely understand people feel like they're forced into it, but like I'll
Yeah.
still vote. So
Well, hopefully, I mean, maybe things change, but like we'll see how he does. I'm also wondering, I would wonder if he's running, if he's not being tapped, if he's not going to be tapped by Harris on her next ticket, which would be very interesting. It's always interesting to me when somebody runs and they run again with a different vice president. Um, but who knows?
yeah.
But yeah, was there anything else, Vampy?
Nope, that was it.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in. Thank you for always being a supporter of the show, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, you too. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Okay. What? Okay. Well, we're gonna take next up. We've got time for two more calls, and I've closed the call-in stream. So, Winnie, thank you so much for being there, getting the calls for us. You are free to go. Call-in lines are closed now, so lines are closed while we take the last couple of calls. Next, coming up is Mark. Mark wants to give a leftist Christian take, so we'll find out about that. Mark, thank you for calling. Welcome to the Weekly Dump, where we take a shit on your takes. What is it you were interested in talking about?
I just wanted to kind of give a leftist take on Christian ideology of my own.
Okay, and what's that take? I'll see if I agree with it.
So a lot of people think that the thing that Jesus is saying when he says turn the other cheek is to be, to just take the hit and just to be like, oh, here's my other cheek to hit it again. What it actually was some sort of defiance and a political protest towards the Romans at the time, because they would hit you on that side of your face that they saw you as a lesser person.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to say to people is that all of these people that are being marginalized right now by the weaponized right of Christianity, and as a Christian, I apologize for that, turn the other cheek. Show them that you are a person and that you are true people and that you deserve all the love and respect that you deserve, and you do not think that you are a secondhand person or
Now,
be treated as such.
do you think that works when when most of the people, not most of, when the predominant Christians in public office are also fascist white supremacists?
Yeah, I'm not saying, this is not me saying be peaceful. I'm saying show
Okay.
them that you are a person.
How
By
do
all
we
means.
show?
It was.
How do we do that though? That's what, like, they don't view us as people. How do we show them we are?
That's what I'm saying, is turn the other cheek. You have to show them that you are people. You need to be
you need to the whole thing that I wanted to go into this with is read the Bible, because it is a perfect description on how to revolt in a way to leave the people that you're revolting against with
Okay.
you.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm like I said, I'm a leftist Christian, and I see Jesus was a revolutionary, and he was a socialist. He said that, well, you cannot find God while also trying to find wealth, and that is what the Christian state of the United States has become.
All right, that's fine, no problem.
I just wanted to give my weird leftist take on Christianity, and what I see my faith as is just we should be protecting the marginalized. We should be taking people in and treating them with the love and kindness that they deserve, and not this hate and vitriol.
Okay, well, I mean, that's fair enough.
And
we can keep
so
going.
if you take all the religious stuff out of it, read it as a way to rise up and revolt against this oppression, because that is what Jesus taught.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for calling in and dropping your take.
Yeah.
You have
Thank
a
you
great
for
rest of
having
your
me.
day, okay?
Yeah, I always appreciate watching your videos and everything. Thank you very much.
All right, great. Thank you, Mark. I'll be honest, the stream is having some problems. How is our internet looking in there, guys? Okay. Well, that's fine. Listen, huh? Yeah, I'm sure the audio is fine. Yeah, we'll just take the last caller. We'll take Donovan. Donovan, age 43. Donovan, welcome. You're on with Jovan on the Weekly Dump, where we take a shit on your takes. Donovan, what are you here to talk about?
Hey, it's been a while. I don't know if we've been missing each other or you just haven't been doing the Weekly Dump, but I have been constipated here, Jovan. So, my topic is about like regular callers and how we get a chance to get deeper insight with them. It feels like sometimes we just have the same conversations over and over and over again.
Oh, we definitely have the same conversations mostly over and over and over again, yeah.
I
mean, that's the come with the territory, right? Most people who call in don't like personally, if let's say it was me, and if I came across my own stream, very first thing I do would be like, okay, this is his talking point. He has these topics. Let me go see if there's a video where he explains his take before I call him. People don't do that.
Oh yeah, no, not what I mean though. What I mean is when it's a repeat caller.
Oh, when it's a
repeat callers. Okay. Andrew from New Jersey was the example I gave your call screener, so don't give your call screener shit.
Which person was Andrew from New Jersey?
Oh, what's this? So you've forgotten. That's cool. That's probably healthy.
But that's just it. Unless the caller really makes an impression on me, if they're calling in a second time and they don't tell me, yeah, I called him before, I don't know, because I don't remember.
I think you've probably only actually had him once, but he's been on lots of times, particularly with chewed gum. And he, how do I put this? 19 years old, from New Jersey, black, didn't know a thing about redlining, for example.
Oh, Andrew.
That was the discussion. Yeah,
the video,
now you remember.
I'm pretty sure I'm about to post that video tomorrow. I'm pretty sure me and Jimmy talked to him, right?
Yeah, I think it was you and Jimmy. It might have been you and Forrest that time.
Was it me and Forrest?
Face journeys.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I'm wrong.
The problem is, people like that, what do you do? People like that who call in over and over again, but they ask the same questions to every, there's not much we can do at that point. Well, I mean, unless we want to just clip farm. But if somebody calls me who's just going to ask me the same, it's like there's that one caller, Mila, who keeps trying to call me, and I've had the same conversation with them 10 times.
Mila.
I don't want to keep doing it.
Right. No, So, Jovan, I want you to take Andrew. I want you to take Andrew, and I want you to ask him about himself. I want you to be like, Andrew, how'd you get here? Why do you beleave what you believe?
How did we
and try to
here?
dig into it. Yeah, right? Exactly. Because clearly the education's not there. I'm a white guy from Canada, and I know about redlining.
The
I
problem
know
is,
the
so many
history.
young people, they get all of their information from podcasts. So like, if they haven't watched a podcast on redlining, they don't know shit. I don't know. There's only
Yeah.
so much. Like,
Tell them to.
I constantly wonder about like what the best way is to push the education. Like when somebody who calls me today on my stream, I had a young girl who was 18. She called me to talk about abortion. She told me at the start of the stream, yeah, I tried to call you 2 years ago, but you said you don't heavily religious, so this is somebody clearly indoctrinated by the church. So I was like, I'm going to handle this with a bit more tact than I usually would. And you could see the comparison, because then I had another abortion call from a woman who was in her like 30s, who I like just fucking dogged on, because I was like, the fuck are you talking about? So it's like, I don't know. I don't know what the best way is to reach people like Andrew who are so young, because I don't necessarily think the information I'm giving them on stream is sinking in.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to get at, is like, how do you find the in with someone like that? Because it's all attitude. It's all psychological armor. You know about this, where it's like people who they don't want to change their mind because it causes them physical pain. So you need to find like that internal motivator that makes that pain worth it for them. Now, I don't know what that is. I figure with Andrew, you might have more than I would, right?
Why is that?
You're from New York originally?
Yeah.
Why is that? So you're from somewhere closer.
Why might I have an in with? Why
common.
might I have an in with Andrew? Might there be
why
a
might
similarity?
you have an in that I wouldn't, right? Might there be a couple, right? I'm from a different country. I've had different life experiences due to my complexion, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't know the right. There are people, because there are people who are repeat callers. Like, if anyone remembers Charlie called me, and Charlie was saying some pretty anti-trans stuff. He changed his mind. He realized he was wrong. I do have people that call like that. One of my recent calls, I just posted a video of the kid Benny, who I started the call with a little animosity, but realized, holy shit, this person is actually trying to understand this a little bit more. So let me change tact. So it's tough, especially if you call me later in stream. If you call me later in stream, you're most likely getting short fused Jovan, because I've already dealt with like 5 other people who pissed me off. So it's tough to find that line.
I've already had that conversation today.
Yeah. Literally, I'm going to tell you my biggest pet peeve here, Donovan, and then we're going to have to let you go because we're at the end of the show. But my biggest pet peeve, okay, is when I can see that someone has been sitting on the line for 40 minutes. Okay? Now, when you sit in my queue, you hear the show. So it drives me batshit crazy when someone is sitting in the queue for 40 minutes. They come up to have the same conversation I just had, but didn't listen